and how New Delhi gets impacted on those. In fact, the one story that I think a lot of Indians are now going to be impacted is coming in from US universities. And in fact, this comes in our section Countdown to Trump 2.0, where we're talking about all stories that we need to keep a watch on as Donald Trump comes into office in 2 months from now. And the latest is that US universities have been now emailing international students and staff advising them to return to the campus before President-elect Donald Trump takes office, which is on 20th of January, and amidst concerns over his plans for mass deportations. Now, how does this impact Indian students? Well, they are now the largest students coming in from any international area outside of the US. A trend they've actually beaten after 15 years, which means that there will be a very large number of undocumented students coming in from India as well. There are a total of 4 lakh undocumented students. Several of them are likely to come from India simply because India now sends the largest number of international students to US universities. Now, how does this impact the students? What is the recourse they have, the legal options, and of course, how soon there should be a plan in place is exactly what we will now be focusing on. And let's get in guests joining me on the show. Sameer Kedekar, who's joining me from California, and we have Varun Singh, who's an immigration expert, joining me as well. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for taking out the time speaking to me on India Global. Let me start with you, Sameer. You're sitting in California where, well, the one thing that everybody's talking about is what is going to be Trump's mass deportation plan looking like. He said again and again that he's going to focus on those who have a violent history and those who are national security threats. Of course, undocumented students do not qualify as being at the top of the list. But how important it is for students to now have a plan in place after 20th of January?
Well, this is a complicated topic. I think it's important to distinguish between those that are undocumented, meaning they don't have visas, right? They don't have the permission to stay or be in the US, versus student visa holders. If somebody has a student visa, they are not undocumented, okay? So the schools that are sending messages out to their students are just trying to be out in front of any travel bans that the president may issue when he takes office on January 20th. The last time he was president, he issued unexpected travel bans at the very outset.
A travel ban?
Of his presidency. Yes.
This time around as well?
We don't know what he's going to do. And because everybody wants to be out in front of what might happen, universities just feel a responsibility to make sure their students are back in the US before January 20th in case any travel ban is issued.
Right. Varun, then let me ask you this, that as an expert on immigration, what do you think, or how is it that you are going to advise those who are seeking advice as far as immigration is concerned, those who are likely to be impacted? What is your 1 or 2 key areas or advice that you're giving?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Gauri. See, we need to also understand the Indian families, especially the South Indian families, mainly from Telangana or Andhra. If you see the numbers, they are the largest contributor for the education in the United States. And there are a lot of issues have come across where a lot of universities and colleges which are not listed or they are not licensed. In fact, students have been going to US just for the sake of getting a foreign exposure. US exposure means basically the US dreams. So according to me, I believe whatever Trump is doing and whatever he is going to do, it is for the betterment for his country and for the people and increasing the border security.
No, of course it is. That's why he's been elected. But what I'm saying is that what is your advice to those who are seeking to study there, who are already studying there? What's your advice for them? That's what I'm saying.
See, advice, I can only say that let them not divert from their education and get into anything else which is in regards to political or any kind of shows which is basically out of your studies parameters. So I will always advise the parents and the students who go to education that they should focus only on completing their education, nothing else. And once they complete their education, then their pathway for jobs and the residencies, it becomes very clear. And choosing the right universities, choosing the right colleges, right course, this becomes a very important factor at initial step, because the consultant's role is to help and protect the students, because they don't have that exposure and expertise to know after education and during
Okay.
education. So we advise that, of course, you should have a cross check,
Sameer,
background check.
okay, all right, Varun. Sameer, talk to us about the kind of concerns that students are raising, and what is the kind of counsel that can be provided.
Yeah, so I think when looking at what might happen, you want to look at what happened in the past presidency. In the past presidency, the Trump administration tried to make it very difficult for students to maintain their status in the U.S. They tried to create very harsh penalties for messing up, your paperwork or falling out of status and things like that. We anticipate they might try to do the same thing this time around as well. So my advice to students and their parents, we're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds. These are basically children, right, who are learning how to be responsible in this world. But the responsibilities for maintaining your paperwork as a student visa holder are very difficult. Many grown adults would mess that up. So my advice to the students and the parents are to make sure they work in lockstep with their universities, make sure they fully understand their obligations as students in terms of paperwork, reporting their classes, reporting their employment and their internships, and all of their responsibilities. The schools do a very good job of providing information to them. Just make sure that you are very well aware of what those responsibilities are so that you don't run afoul of the immigration rules.
Okay, now I want to address the bit about undocumented students. Yes, there are those who are legally studying there and those who are very much on a valid visa. But talk to us, Sameer, about the undocumented students. The numbers seem to be significant. How much of it is going to impact India?
So the undocumented student population is definitely in the shadows. Many call them DACA holders or dreamers. Okay, and some schools allow them to attend their schools and others don't. So there's not a lot of information on that. But certainly anybody who's undocumented in the US is at risk of being caught up in this deportation process that Trump and his staff are talking about. So if one does not have a visa in the US, then I would be concerned and certainly seek the counsel of immigration attorneys.
All right, Sameer and Varun, thank you so much for taking out the time and really explaining to us the significance of what Trump's planning to do and how it may impact Indian students. Really appreciate you taking out the time.